What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the channel. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. I just decided I wanted to make a YouTube video, kind of do a pseudo review slash, why I chose this bike and purchase it, and actually it's going to be my first YouTube video. So let's on the bike, go for a ride, and talk about it. Alright, so like I said, I want to do kind of like a review slash reasons why I decided to buy this bike, my 2019 Honda CB650r. It is the non-ABS slash traction control model. I don't have the quick shifter or anything fancy like that. Basically the bare bones model. Really, first and foremost, drew me to this bike is the looks of this bike. I absolutely love the look of this bike. I first saw it when I was scrolling through YouTube. I've been kind of wanting a bike again. I've had a few, and previously I had several sport bikes, but I wanted something different this time. But I just didn't know exactly what I wanted. I was leaning towards like the naked bikes. I kind of like that classic look, but with a modern technology spin on it. And Yamahas are okay, but not quite what I wanted. The SV650, I had a Suzuki before and wasn't a huge fan of it, and definitely not like a cruiser person. Yeah, this is 100% what I was after. The Honda calls it the Neo Retro Cafe Racer style, and it is just exactly what I wanted. I wanted that Neo Cafe Racer, that look, and I love it. I love the color scheme that was released in America, that deep red with the silver and the bronze and black accents. Oh, it just blew me out of the water. Looking at the headlights, it's got that LED halo effect. I'm literally in love with that. Hence, where I got the YouTube name Halo Rider among the helmet too. Okay, I'm a bit of a nerd. A disclaimer there. Looking at the LCD display, it's not a TNT one, so it's not as bright. It's a little bit hard to see during the daytime, but I love how it looks. It just looks so clean. It looks, very, very good. It has so much information with, about being a huge display and not, anything unnecessary. You have your tachometer, you have your gear indicator that's nice and big. You have a fuel gauge there, which, oh my God, it's always a must on a bike. I mean, a lot of sport bikes don't have that, so I'm just so thankful this does. Nice big number for your speed indicator there, and then you have some few things you can customize down there. I currently have it for average miles per gallon and another kind of tachometer there. Temperature and time. So I mean, that's like everything I could want to have on a tachometer and then some. And then off to the side there, you can see as I turn on the blinker here, you have a blinker there, and if I were to turn it the other way, you have the blinker, you have your highs, your neutral will pop up there too. And I think you have like oil indicator and stuff like that. So overall, I just really love that display. Like, I just love how it looks. Let's give it a quick sound test. Sounds all right. Sounds all right. It's got the inline 4 649cc engine. I love inline 4 engines, which we'll get to in a bit. But it is a little bit quiet for me. Some things I would do is I would like to get some new levers, some maybe shorty levers of different colors and stuff. Just not a huge fan of the stock levers. And eventually get some bar end mirrors too. Get rid of these. But overall, there's not a lot I would change visually on this bike. I just love how this bike looks. Now, the second thing I like to talk about is the power on this bike and the engine. So that's also what drew me to buy this bike. It has, like I said, a 649cc inline 4 engine making about 90 horsepower and about 40 foot-pound of torque at the crank. And I tell you what, it is not as fast as my 600s or my 750 were, but man, it is still plenty quick. Let's get on the road here and I'll kind of give you a little pull demonstration. Oh man, I just love this bike. Yeah, it's not as fast as my 600s, the 750 or 1000 by any means, but man, it is still plenty quick, and it's just another part of why I love this bike. Hold on a second here. Realized I hadn't plugged my phone in to charge it yet, and that's why I was just dangling there. Yeah, as you guys can see, this thing has plenty of get up and go, and every time I get on, I love getting on it. It has enough power to bring up the front wheel on power alone. If you're doing a power wheelie in first gear, you could definitely clutch it up in first gear. Second gear, if you're really trying. If you're wanting something that's just a wheelie machine, you definitely have to probably put like a sprocket on this or get something else. So I wouldn't say that it's monster at wheelies like the MT-07 or bikes like that. It just doesn't have that low end torque. But man, I just love the inline four, how it just revs out there, gets screaming. Oh, just fantastic. I will say though, between about 4,000 to 6,000 RPMs, there's a bit of a dead spot on this bike. I'm not sure if like Honda programmed that into there or what, but I'm hoping eventually I'm going to get a full exhaust for this. Little disclaimer, you can only get full exhaust for this bike, you can't get a slip-on, so that is something you have to consider cost-wise, and then you have to get the full tune. No, it still pulls like crazy. As you can see, it can definitely get into the triple digits, and I don't think as it slows down around the 120 mark, is not that it doesn't have more the power to go faster per se, as much as that because this is a naked bike, you don't have the aerodynamics of a fully fairing bike. I mean, for me, that's plenty quick. And the thing is too, I'm able to just shift through the gears on a daily basis and just have a great time doing it. If you're on a 600 or 1,000 especially, you don't quite have that luxury. You kind of have to be on longer stretches of road to really open it up and get the most out of each gear, which is something kind of deterred me away from purchasing one of those bikes. Is I just wanted to be something that can also just rip through the gears on a daily basis and only maybe get in a little bit of trouble. Versus a 600 or especially 1,000. Something else that really drew me to getting this bike and kind of this style of bike to begin with is the ergonomics. So like I said, I came from having a 600 and 750 motorcycles, which, you know, you're way more forward in that sporty position, which is fun for at most an hour. Then it really starts to just wear on your wrists, your lower back, and your butt. And on this one, you're in a lot more upright positions, a lot more comfortable. I have had zero issues with my back or my wrists. I will say though, the seat, not the most comfortable in the world. It does get sore after about an hour and a half of riding. Another thing that drew me to this bike is kind of the pricing. Now, for its class, it's a little bit on the high side. You can find these about 9,000 or more, brand new from a dealer, but that's typically the ABS model or the traction control model. I've seen the normal base models, which I have, for around the 8,500 mark. Versus competition, I think you're paying in the 6,000 to 7,000 range. So you're definitely paying a few more $1,000, but at the same time, the quality of this bike is just phenomenal. I mean, this thing is a quality bike. The paint is solid. The brakes are amazing for what it is. The engine's fantastic. The display, just every look. I mean, just so much about this bike. The quality is there, and I'm in love with that. So I shopped around for a while, and I actually picked this bike up about 10 hours away in my hometown for $7,200. So I paid a little bit, quite a bit less. I mean, they really weren't making a whole lot of money off this sale. They just wanted it out of there. So I got it for a great deal. Not to say you guys can't find it, but maybe wait a little bit longer, buy a used one for that price. I'm sure it'll be just as good. It probably will have not too many miles on it. To me, at that price point, bike is definitely worth it. Also talking price, insurance. So this bike isn't really grouped with the other 600s or bigger bikes. It actually just doesn't fall in that category. Therefore, my insurance was for this was, I think, at least half what it would have been for a 600, let alone 1,000. And some of you might not care about that, but honestly, money's money, and I didn't, you know, if I could save money, that's just one of the things I want to consider when buying a motorcycle. As you can see there, I'm averaging about 40 miles to the gallon. I do, you know, get on it fairly frequently just because it's a kind of a sporty bike. I just like doing it. So I find myself having to stop for gas, not too often, but often enough to notice it. So I will say the tank size is not the most fantastic thing about this bike. There's not really too many downsides to this bike. You know, if you get this bike, or any naked for that matter, you do have to deal with the wind. It's just kind of something that's constantly there. I've seen some aftermarket windshields you can get for this, but none of them are really that big, so I don't know how much they help. As far as like fitment goes, I'm 5'11", about 200 pounds, and I feel like this bike fits me fantastic. I can flat foot this bike no problem whatsoever. I can definitely see some shorter people doing it. You start getting to be, I don't know, 6'2", 6'3", maybe you feel a little too big for this bike, but I mean, I feel like I fit on this bike just fine. So yeah, overall, I really enjoy this motorcycle. Anyone out there looking to pick one of these up, I think you'll be happy with it. This is, again, I've had the fast bikes and I still went with this, and I'm not regretting a second of it. It's fantastic. Whether I'm going to work or just riding around like now, enjoying the country scenery. But that's just my thoughts, my opinions, and reasons why I decided to go with this bike. Kind of a little review. I love it. Maintenance on this bike was super easy. I think that's mostly because it's a naked bike. I didn't have to mess with the fairings. Maintenance isn't crazy on this bike. I think oil changes every 8,000 miles. 16,000 miles for like spark plug checks and replacements and things like that. I mean, overall maintenance on this thing is probably the most frequent thing you'll change is the tires or something if you're going crazy on them, and things like that. Maybe the brakes too. I'm not sure yet. I haven't got that far. That's just my personal opinion and reasons why I love this bike. I hope if you're in the market for a bike like this, or this bike in particular, this helps. Anyway, like I said, this is my first YouTube video. If you like it, hit the subscribe button. Hoping to put more and more out there. And hit the like button. All right. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you all again. Boom.